That's where my father is from. My mother, on the other hand, by virtue of my mother, we have a blend of two states.
Okay.
There's Imo State, there is Ogun State. Ogun State, because my mother was raised, let me just say, the only grandfather I knew, I never met my father's grandfather and my father's dad, you know. The only person I ever called grandpa was from Ogun State. He died long ago, 89 or thereabouts. But that's the closest I came to having. That's the only grandfather we had, and in our family we're all a mix of. We have local names from my father's side.
Okay.
I am Mfon from my daddy's side, and then we have Igbo names too, and we have Yoruba names in our house. I'm Femi. I'm also Udochi. So you can see.
But I think you need to add an Hausa name actually.
Unfortunately, there was no Hausa connection. I miss it. Probably in a sweet northern name like Zainab.
Wow.
I mean, okay, not for a guy, but something along like
line.
like
Okay.
Adamu or something.
So basically, you have a mix.
Yes, but
origin.
Yes, but I grew up. I was born in Ibadan.
Okay.
I grew up in Ibadan. I spent my childhood in a place called Links Reservation, the Onirike GRA in Ibadan. That's where I grew up, just behind the Ibadan Recreation Club, the golf course. So all our lives, everybody I knew at that time was in Ibadan, except extended family members who
were outside of town.
You know, so all my life, basically, if I was in the country, I was in Ibadan. Ibadan was our home.
Okay. So basically, how was growing up life for you? What was it like growing up as a teenager, going to school, and all that?
Well, fortunately, I had the best father in the world. I had an amazing mother too, but you know, I often have this conversation with people. I often talk more fondly of my father than
that's
my mother.
Quite unusual
That's
for a man.
Yeah. My mother was the militaristic one. My father was the voice of reason. You know, so I had a really good childhood, largely courtesy of him. And his moral instructions and all of that. We're raised in a very strong Christian family, and 4 boys and a girl. And during my teenage years, I was particularly supposed to be a bright kid. I mean, everybody thought I was bright. Then in my teenage years, football got in the way. I just wanted to play football. And I played football so bad that in secondary school, I went from being top student, to almost repeating a class.
Because of football?
Because of football. Because even during promotion examination, I was the best English student, but during examination, a match clashed with my English exam.
And then you had to
sacrifice the exam. And I went to play football.
Wow.
I actually went to play football. And then there was a teacher who thought, even though the grades, I literally passed on what do you call it now, continuous assessment. But after that, there was the principal called my father and the games master, and I was ordered out of the school team. I was ordered out of even break time football. In fact, I remember my principal telling the school at the assembly that if anybody sees me kicking a stone, they should report me. I had to sign an undertaking in triplicate that I wanted to go to school, and I was going to sacrifice football for school. And if I ever decide to sacrifice school for football, I will not hold the school responsible. I will not hold my dad responsible. So a copy was given to my dad. The school kept one. I had to keep one. And so pretty much, just to give you an example about how easy it was for a young star who was brilliant. I mean, they used to call me Brain, you know, but to totally lose focus and derail.
Now, that's quite interesting. Let me just take you on from there. Do you think those days, I mean, informed your going into sports journalism right now? Do you think the experiences of those times informed that?
You know what they say? Usually, the best sports journalists are failed sportsmen. You know, you understand.
I agree with you on that.
I played football a bit. I did karate a bit. I did what's it called? I played volleyball a bit, pretty much. But in the end, I think at the end of the day, I went into broadcasting as a whole, not sports journalism per se. Broadcasting as a whole, rather reluctantly. The only thing I really wanted to do as a young star when I was in secondary school was fly planes. I wanted to be a pilot. You understand? That was what I wanted to do.
So what informed broadcasting as a choice of career?
Let me say this. Initially, broadcasting was something that I used to say, God forbid, over.
Why?
You know, because of my mother. My mother, every time I listened to a broadcaster I admired, I'm like, I like that person. My mother would say, yes, you like them. They are sounding sweet on air now, but they have terrible lives. They are unfaithful people to their wives. They smoke, they drink, they womanize. That's all they do. And broadcasters were terrible people. Do you understand? So I used to think that you could not combine good morals
with broadcasting.
With broadcasting. I grew up believing that. Then my own personal friend, he's late now, my childhood friend, he used to be big in these parts, Naftali Tokwe Brown. When we were teenagers, 13, 14, 15, the only thing he wanted to do was broadcasting. So oh, you're going to ruin your life. You know, I used to tell him, you ruin your life. So as early as 18, he was a broadcaster. I mean, he was, give and take, 2 years older than me. He was already a broadcaster, and he kept pressuring me, and I kept resisting. And once he tricked me into an audition, I didn't know. He said he wanted to test the mic because I escorted him to the, you know, I didn't know that was an audition. So he gave me new scripts to read. I wanted to test the mic, and then all of a sudden I started getting interest from the station, Radio Nigeria in Ibadan. Then and some amazing guys who just generally developed interest. I was very, very reluctant. But in the end, I now noticed there was another thing that drew me into broadcasting. I never liked routine. Waking up at one time every day of my life, going here, coming back at one time. I always liked the lives. Yeah, I liked the lives of maybe like businessmen who had better control of their time and all of that. So I now started noticing my friend that he had that time. Sometimes he does night duty on Sunday night, and on Monday morning everybody's going mad trying to get to work. He's home sleeping. So this is nice. It's not so bad, you know. And something else that my family really thought I would do was law, and they even pushed me to do litigation for a while. I was a litigation clerk, and the closer I got to law, the more I saw that this is not for me. You understand? So gradually, I picked an interest, and I just saw that, oh, hold on. Besides, I had a natural affinity. When I was in secondary school, and a new teacher sent to my school heard me read. He was like, whoa, you are going to be a great broadcaster and a newscaster. And I told him, God forbid, sir.
So it's more like a prophet.
Yes. And you know, I remember my secondary school mates used to come back to me and say, God forbid, Abi.
Shall see.
You know, so I just realized that, you know, I was just made for it.
So apparently God did not forbid.
God did not forbid. Yeah.
All right, you mentioned something very important, talking about combining broadcasting and good morals, you know, having a good life.
Yeah.
I mean, you can be called a veteran. I've been doing this for like 24 years.
Yeah.
How do you marry this? Do you think it's possible to be a broadcaster and still have good morals?
It's possible, but it's difficult, to be sure. Okay. It's possible, but it's difficult because of the exposure. Imagine having good morals and being a musician, being popular. It's hard, especially when you're young. You know, I had my turbulence. Don't forget, I was I was, but during my broadcast years, I was still running certain programs and all of that. I had done school. The part that you are not aware, I had first done mass communication back then when polytechnic education was, was interesting, and and all of that, and then, so juggling it, and a young guy, earliest 20s. Juggling it, handling the girls, it was tough. Honestly, it was tough. It was rather confusing. I missed too many classes. Grades went down because you could almost count at the tip of your fingers the number of times you were in class during a semester. So it had its challenges, and I'd seen some of my colleagues and my friends totally destroy their lives because they couldn't handle the exposure that being a broadcaster brings.
Right, you spoke about your father being the one who instilled morals and all that. What kind of values did your father instill in you, and how did those values affect you as a broadcaster?
To be honest with you, strong scriptural principles. That's my father. Amazing man. My father had a Bible text for everything you do. A practical example was, he saw me once chasing lizards. He just saw me chasing lizards, and they gave me a lecture. And he said, "Why are you chasing the lizard?" I want to kill it. Why do you want to kill it? I don't know. Kunle kills it, Dayo kills it, they all kill it. And my dad taught me a lesson. I was probably 4 years old. He taught me a lesson I've never forgotten. He said there are only 3 reasons why you should kill an animal. You want it for food, or you are killing it because it is harmful to you, e.g. snakes, food, e.g. goats and all of chickens, or mosquitoes and all of that, or it's dangerous to, it's dangerous to your property, damages your property, like rats, and all of that. Other than that, and then he read the scripture for the first time I saw it, where God says God will ruin those ruining the earth. I was like, ruining the earth. I'm ruining the earth by trying to kill a lizard. But he meant it. I mean, these things are, God created these things. So if they are not going to serve as food for you, if they don't harm you, if they are not destroying your property, what is the lizard doing to you? Why are you chasing? Why do you want to kill it? So that was the kind of father that I had. There was a scripture, and he didn't have to open the Bible. He would just give you. He would tell you to take your Bible and open it yourself, and he could give you 1,000 scriptures in one hour lecture. So that was the kind of father I had. So it really shaped, my own foundation.
All right. So I haven't done this for over 2 decades now.
Yeah.
What would you say are the critical values that have stood you out all this while? I mean, you run one of the most popular sports brands in Nigeria, Femi and the gang, and over the years you've built this and that. What values, did you think are accountable for all the successes?
Well, the base of it all is heart in multiple ways, but let me just restrict it to having a good heart and having a conscience in whatever you do. It helps you keep sane, and it helps you manage the multifaceted, the barrage of things you have to deal with at all times. Personally, for me, I've always tried to stay within certain set rules. Try as much as possible not to do to other people what you don't want them to do to you. And treat everybody like they have a chance. Give them a chance. Ultimately, some people will excel, others will fail. But how would you know if you didn't give them a chance? So I've had to, in my own imperfection, I've made mistakes in my career, but ultimately, that has always been the guiding principle. So sometimes, even when I approach the audience, when I open the mic, one of the greatest cardinal rules of broadcasting is be polite at all times. Never take your audience for granted. Never be harsh to your audience. Never be, even when you're upset, maintain your cool. It makes you professional, it makes you dignified, and it helps you last. Because so many times we've seen people let their own little peskiness and all of that get in the way of great broadcasting. But you have to imbibe all of this. And most importantly, we were the lucky ones. We were trained. I had training, starting with Radio Nigeria. Radio Nigeria used to be all about training.
I was about asking that. I mean, you've seen over 2 generations, of broadcasters.
Yeah.
How do you compare broadcasting then when you started and what it is now?
There used to be a parlance in broadcasting. That broadcasters are born. They are not made. You're either a broadcaster or you are not. The fact that you can speak English, string a few sentences together, does not necessarily make you a broadcaster. There should be that basic thing, ability to communicate and have people listen. There are some people, when they talk, people just naturally listen to them. There are others who have to try to gain attention. But we also, apart from having the capability and the aptitude to do the job, we also receive training from those early years, FRCN training, BBC training, Dutch Welle training. All of that came in to help me. I wasn't a sports broadcaster, Emmanuel. You'll probably find this shocking. In fact, until I got to Cool FM in 2010, I wasn't really a sports broadcaster. But in my early years, I had done training in sports broadcasting, commentating, and all of that with Radio Nigeria and with the BBC. So it was not that I wanted to, but just because I had bosses who thought, I could do it.
Fit into that.
I could do it. So there was a time when the controller, OB and sports, an amazing guy, Samuel Osayua, who was my boss, when he had to be away, they needed somebody to come in and do sports. So I was called in to do sports for like a couple of weeks, about a month when he was away. It was so great that people just wanted, even the university community, they all wanted me to continue. And then my superior said, look, you can do this, go on sports training. I did go. I didn't think I was really going to do it, but I'd always followed sport. I'd always been a sports person myself, until I came to Cool FM. And to be honest with you, I was beginning to get tired of just being DJ, something, MC that, and all of that. I was getting older. I wanted to do more mature broadcasting.
So when I felt sport was it for you?
Yeah. Initially, it was news. When I joined Cool FM, the only thing I wanted to do was read the news. But I soon got bored. Okay? So when I saw the need for sports, and I was asked to set up sports, it gave me a totally new challenge. And it's one that I've embraced. And I wanted to do sports differently. I don't like norms. Norms routine bores me. If I cannot challenge myself. So when I started with the sports, I wanted to do something different. I didn't just want to report on sports. I wanted to entertain. You understand? So, and I looked for people who could give me that entertainment value and all of that. It's the reason why the brand. There's the reason why people hear Femi and the Gang. A lot of people know Femi and the Gang. They don't know me as much as they know Femi and the Gang. But that's the whole idea, to try and reinvent, to try and do something differently. I think inherently, everybody can broadcast. These days we hear people say, I'm not a broadcaster, I'm an OAP, whatever that means. That's like celebrating mediocrity. Do you understand? If you open the mic and talk to people, you are broadcasting. Apparently. You better be good at it. I'm not talking about have fake accents. If you don't have it, don't force it. But you got to be able to communicate and let people hear you. People ask me, your accent, I don't know. I just pronounce words correctly. You understand? If it makes me sound like an Englishman sometimes, so be it. Do you understand? But I'm able to enunciate and I'm able to speak and people hear me. That's the basis. Just like you are speaking now and people can hear you. And you're asking me questions that's making me say things that I've not said in decades.
All right, yeah, that's a plus for me, right?
Yeah, it's a plus for you.
At the same time, it's not on our side. Just one more thing before we call it a day. I mean, what advice would you have for aspiring broadcasters? I mean,
First, you gotta love it. The problem with broadcasters these days is that they are in it, many of them, and I've seen it because look, I employ, I engage people, all of that, and you know, I have been blessed on this platform to run not just Nigeria Info, but also Cool FM and Wazobia. The stations, they have their own different
uniqueness.
Do you understand? And I've seen it that a whole lot of people want to get into broadcasting because they just want to be popular. They want the limelight. You understand? Just like a lot of people go into singing. Because maybe they feel they will blow, people will know them and all of that. I think it's the wrong reason to be in broadcasting. You've got to really love it and see it as a career, not just as as a means to an end. Do you want to? You've got to love it. If you love it, then you're already halfway there. You have to develop role models. I always tell people, if you want to sound good, quickly pick role models. Better if they are the same sex as you. If you're a lady, pick a lady you respect and that you want to emulate. And it better be people who have the right values, not people who are necessarily wanna gonna shoulda. Because if you become wanna gonna shoulda, you understand. People who enunciate. Now, some people didn't grow up here. So they speak the way they speak because they didn't grow up here. Some people grew up here, but due to influences, like my childhood, I spent most of my childhood with British kids and all of that. If you're American, yes. If you're American kids, I got opportunities to do holidays away from family. But saying all of that, first things first, love it and see it as a career. You may not make a lot of money. If you want money, fame, and all of that, maybe it will come. They're very rich broadcasters, and some of us have done well for ourselves. But it starts with the right attitude, okay? If you build the right attitude, you build yourself over time, you'll become an authority, and then the money will come.
All right, Mr. Femi, thank you very much. Time will not allow us to go on. I have so many questions I would have loved to ask.
It feels good to be Mr. today. I'm Mr. Okay, I'm a guest. Mr. Femi.
All right.
I'm used to being just Femi.
Wow. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. Thank you very much for sharing this much experience.
Thank you.
And I'm sure our listeners out there have taken one or two things, that can help them go a long way. All right, if you're out there, like John Legend said, this is the Role Model Show, and it will be coming your way every Monday by 10:30 a.m. Today we're calling it a wrap. It was nice having Mr. Femi on the show. Thank you very much. Pleasure. And please go out there and be all you can be the best you can be. Till I come your way again next week, I am Emmanuel Oyewole. Have a wonderful day.